1 second, it's gliding along at 200 miles per hour. The next, it could be up and out of the water. 10 feet off the bow, an opponent makes it a race and is making waves. There's only one thing worse than looking at a wall of water. That's driving through one. The recipe for success: 1/3 beating the course, 1/3 beating the water conditions, 1/3 beating the other boats. And to win in Kansas City, it's going to take all three. The 1995 Hooters Unlimited Hydroplane Series. The third stop on the circuit, the Texaco Star Mart HydroFair from Smithville Lake, Kansas City, Missouri. Wind is oftentimes a factor for unlimited hydroplane racers, but today, maybe not. It's just about perfect here at Smithville Lake outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Hello, everyone. I'm Dick Crippen, and welcome to a great day of unlimited hydroplane racing. This is kind of interesting. You know, we've raced now on 2 different kinds of courses, and today we race on a third. The first course was out in Phoenix, Arizona. That was primarily designed for drag boats. We could only go 2 unlimiteds at a time. Then we moved on to Detroit in the Gold Cup races on the Detroit River, one of the most treacherous courses in all of unlimited hydroplane racing. Treacherous not only because of the Detroit River, but also because of a very narrow turn at one end and a very wide turn at the other. Now we come to Smithville Lake. This is an equal course. It has equal wide turns on either end of the course and equal long straightaways on either side. So it should be some all-out racing from start to finish. They have added a new ingredient to the formula, one I think will be very interesting. To explain that, here's Steve Montgomery.
Well, that's right, Dick. For this race in Kansas City, we're going to give the standard racing format for unlimited hydroplanes a new wrinkle. Heats 1A and 1B will be run as they always have been. The fastest qualifiers are given first lane choice. They probably take the inside for that advantage that we've talked about. Now, when it comes time to draw for heats 2A and 2B, the boats that have scored the most points, the boats that won heats 1A and 1B, will not be given that same advantage. They will be the last to draw. They'll probably end up way on the outside. The unlimited officials think this will increase competition, at least in that one heat. Some teams, notably the Budweiser guys, feel they're being penalized, and it's understandable. Most everyone else seems to like it. We'll wait and see. Jim Hendrick is in the camp of one team that could benefit.
Well, the benefits remain to be seen, especially for the boat behind me, Steve, and that's the T+. Steve David qualified at 155+. The last couple of days, that's the best showing they have had all year. They'll be in lane 1. They're going to have a lot of competition, but they do have the advantage. But if they win in Heat 1A coming up, what happens? They could flop over to the outside and not have that advantage in the second heat. They're hungry. They're looking for their first win since 1993 at Honolulu. It will be interesting.
And interesting not only on the water, but in the Eagle Snacks O'Doul's high points race, because you can see only a couple of hundred points separate from top to bottom in the top 5. Now, remember, they get 400 points a win, so that can really come down very, very fast. There could be some major changes today. Ed Cooper, owner of one of the boats getting ready for the first race out here on Smithville Lake, will be back with all the competition and all the speed as we continue with Speed World in just a moment. And is ready now for the first heat in over 2 years here on Smithville Lake. And the drivers are strapping in and getting all warmed up, getting set, thinking their strategy over. They're going to have plenty of horsepower to work with. Now, you know, it wasn't so many years ago. There was a different kind of horsepower in this part of the country. Outlaws were very big. One infamous gang had their home a mere 15 minutes from this site, as Steve Montgomery found out.
This is the main street of Liberty, Missouri, just about 15 miles from Smithville Lake, where the modern-day legends of boat racing will be at work this weekend. And it was at this historic site in 1866 that another American legend was born. A group of 10 to 12 men on horseback rode into Liberty on that cold February day. 2 of them went into this bank. They came out with $62,000, about $6 million by today's standards. As they rode away with guns blazing, the legend of Frank and Jesse James was born. There's no shortage of stories of the James gang's exploits in these parts. They are credited with robbing 12 banks, 7 trains, a number of stagecoaches, and even the box office at the Missouri State Fair in Kansas City. The Pinkerton Detective Agency, working for the railroads, chased the outlaw brothers for 11 years, at one time bombing the James family home here in Kearney, Missouri. Folk heroes or cold-blooded killers? Even the locals don't agree on that one, but neither Frank nor Jesse were ever convicted of any crime. Historians do agree that at age 34, Jesse James was shot by a member of his own gang for the reward money. Brother Frank lived on to old age and respectability following the death of Jesse in 1882. Now, 113 years later, the legend lives on.
Well, as you were getting that history lesson, the boats took to the water here at Smithville Lake. And Jim Hendrick, let's take a look at the lineup for our first start.
Well, we're on the white flag lap. There's 1 lap to go, and in lane 1 it'll be Steve David and Jim Harvey's T-Plus engine treatment. Lane number 2, Mark Evans in the wellness plan, owned by Fred Leland. Ron Jones has Scott Pierce in the cockpit of the Miss DOC AccuView. Kendall Oil Ramada for the Coopers, and that is Mitch Evans in the cockpit. Jerry Hop drives Mike Jones's Miss KC.
As we take a look at the boats coming down, T-Plus on the inside should have a little bit of an advantage as they start. This is a wide course, and they are taking just about all the course coming down for the start. The green flag just started to fly, and they are off and running into turn number 1. It is the T-Plus. Stephen David, wellness plan in lane number 2, staying right on his hip. Steve David comes out of the turn. Let's see if he holds it steady coming out. He does. He is unchallenged onto the back stretch. So Steve David getting a little bit light, showing us a little bit of the underside of the boat. Coming down now on the far side of the course, doing a good job. Gets a little bit of a jump out of the water, but manages to hold it in there.
All preliminary heats will be 3-lap sprints, and of course the finale for the fastest 6 boats, they will go a full 5 laps.
The wellness plan has moved up on the outside of the T-Plus. The wellness plan driven by Mark Evans. He has done a fine job in this boat, getting a lot more out of it than a lot of people thought they would. There is also a battle back in 3rd place. It is Scott Pierce in the Miss DOC AccuView and Mitch Evans in the Kendall Oil boat, which happens to be the only piston-powered boat on the course. But the leader, and for the moment uncontested, Stephen David out of Pompano Beach, Florida, in the T-Plus.
Running about 140-mile-an-hour laps right now is the T-Plus with Steve David. And speaking of Mark Evans, he also qualified another boat that's in this heat, the Miss KC, but Jerry Hop is in the cockpit right now.
Right now, that boat is riding in 5th place on the course. Here's your battle for 3rd place. Scott Pierce on the inside of the course, Mitch Evans on the outside of the piston packer, doing a fine job. There's your elite boat, the Miss T-Plus on the outside of him. Just behind in 2nd is the wellness plan, Mark Evans. He's gotten an awful lot out of that boat.
Zodiac Sports Watch average lap speed for the T-Plus, 141.
We might point out to those that are viewing these races for the first time, these boats are capable of top speed of going the length of a football field in just 1 second. Holding them on the water, balancing the water and air, and there's a good job being done by Mitch Evans again as we take a look at our leader, T-Plus. This is going to be for the checkered flag. Steve David, what a great way to start the day in the Miss T-Plus. He flies the boat a little bit out of the water, comes down for the checkered flag. Wellness plan will finish up in 2nd place. Steve David literally led from start to finish, and there goes the flag to mark it officially. Steve David gets 400 points for winning the first race of the day. Each winner gets 400 points. The 2nd place boat, the Miss Wellness plan, will get 300, and so on down the list. They'll accumulate these points through the day to qualify for the championship heat late this afternoon.
And there are no points for a DNF, which means for Jerry Hop in this case did not finish, but by the new plan he'll get better lane choice the next heat. Now let's go down to the winning dock and Steve Montgomery.
Hey guys. Steve David, congratulations on the victory. Now you know what that means next heat.
Yeah, I know. I guess we're going to probably get last lane choice, but that's okay. The T-Plus engine treatment's running great, and guys have it really set up well, and we're just building towards the final. That's the race we have to win. This is just a process of getting there.
Now, take a look at the feat of no defeat. Chip Hanauer, a perfect season thus far. Will it continue? We'll find out on Speed World when we continue in just a moment. To the Mart HydroFair from Kansas City, Missouri, as we get ready for Heat 1B. It was just after the last race, the Gold Cup in Detroit, that the driver of the Miss Budweiser and Detroit winner Chip Hanauer was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame.
I can't tell you how privileged I feel and how humbled I feel to be associated with this Hall of Fame and the people that are in it. My career is really just a reflection of the people that I've worked with.
Chip had just won his 10th Gold Cup, and that marked his 55th win as a driver. He was joined by fellow inductees into the Motorsports Hall of Fame, as well as some unlimited and APBA dignitaries.
It's been a blur, you know, to come here and win the 10th Gold Cup, and then, you know, 3 days later be inducted in the Hall of Fame. For a kid who grew up in Seattle who wanted to, you know, win 1 Gold Cup and maybe win a championship, it's exceeded my wildest expectations. I just feel privileged, very privileged.
Chip also had the honor of unveiling his place in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Hall of Famer Chip Hanauer. And Chip Hanauer now out on Smithville Lake as we get ready for Heat 1B.
And by virtue of being the highest qualifier, Chip has the inside lane, lane 1 in Miss Budweiser. Second highest qualifier, Mark Tate in the Smokin' Joe is in lane 2. And the third highest qualifier, Dave Vilwalk in Pico's American Dream, is in lane 3. So the top 3 are out there competing. And in lane 4, it's Mike Hansen, the Jasper Engines and Transmission, the boat owned by the city of Madison, Indiana. And on the outside, Ken Muscatel in Miss Hydroblast. He's the owner and the driver.
This is going to be a real test as the green flag is up and they're off. Whoa, it looked like 2 boats on the outside almost hit together as they came down. They've got to hold their lane going into turn number 1. But it's Smokin' Joe. The yellow boat has taken the lead into the turn. Let's see if he can hold on to it. Miss Budweiser in lane number 1. Chip Hanauer now looking at a rooster tail as he comes tight on those buoys. Chip Hanauer trying to accelerate onto the back stretch here at Smithville Lake. Still the leader, Mark Tate out of Wayne, Michigan. The boat on the inside, Miss Budweiser, that is the favored groove.
And a man who could turn on the inside as well as anybody in the history of the sport is Chip Hanauer. He hangs it on the hook. And we take a look at what Chip sees in that lane number 1 as those buoys whip by. The water conditions are the roughest in the turns, Dick. And as we look on the right side, the red boat, the Budweiser, look at his upright. It's bent in. That has to be from water damage.
And that is a very dangerous situation. That's liable to start ripping apart if he hits any more water. He's got to be very careful as he drives on the inside groove, not only lane 1 of the lake, but he's on the inside groove of the rooster tail from Mark Tate's Smokin' Joe's. And that is the boat you're looking at right there. That's your lead boat. Mark out of Wayne, Michigan, doing a great job. Steve Woomer, the owner of the boat, I'm sure, standing on the sideline, just thrilled with the run.
Now that there's a 5-boat overlap, it's legal now for Mark Tate to move over on the inside, but he's not. He's leaving room for the Budweiser as he keeps it in lane number 2.
The Zodiac Sports Watch's average lap speed, 144 miles per hour for Mark Tate in the Smokin' Joe's. Smooth water comparatively for Mark Tate. He is in the lead position. The boat that takes the beating is the last place boat, Hydroblast. Look at Ken Muscatel fighting that boat all the way through the turn. Here's your leader as he comes now looking for the checkered flag. There's the inside view of the Miss Budweiser. A great shot. He's got to keep that boat, especially now with the damage on the inside of that rooster tail. He doesn't want to pick up any pressure at all from it. It looks like Miss Budweiser may be trying to make a dash for the finish. He is coming up on the inside, closing down on Mark Tate in the Smokin' Joe's. Mark Tate manages to find the speed on the turn. Miss Budweiser coming high out of the water, and actually the boat started to break apart. But Chip Hanauer has not let his foot off the accelerator. He's taken the lead by a nose. Steve Woomer, the owner of the Smokin' Joe's, standing on the sidelines yelling for his driver to power on, and he does. Mark Tate comes across and takes it by a nose. Mark Tate, a great job of driving.
How'd you like that one?
Oh, wow. That was some close racing, I'll tell you.
You don't have
It don't get any better now. We said this was a final coming up, and boy, was it ever, huh?
You don't have to be on the inside.
No, I guess not. Boy, what a race.
Well, here's the results of that race. Smokin' Joe's with 400 points. Miss Budweiser gets 300. Pico's American Dream came in 3rd. Jasper Engines and Transmissions 4th. And the Miss Hydroblast finished up in 5th place. There's some sponson damage. That's obviously where we saw the pieces flying off the Miss Budweiser. They'll investigate more damage on that boat. Let's go down the pitch to the Smokin' Joe's.
Mark, you don't have to be on the inside.
Well, we got a real good start on Budweiser there, and the inside lane was pretty rough all the way around, and you know, we had a great boat there. It's pretty sloppy conditions, and the Smokin' Joe boat just performed well. I gotta congratulate my team for the Heat victory there, because they've worked their heart and soul so far this week to even give me such a fine piece.
Miss Budweiser is a wounded rocket at this point.
Let's check with Bernie Little. Bernie, what's the extent of the damage?
Oh, the both uprights and the frame that holds the uprights, the tail, took the whole tail off of the boat.
He didn't crash into another boat. This is all water damage.
Rough water. Chip says the water's really rough down there, and he went into a hole in about the second lap there, and that's why we were running in second. Don't worry about it, Jim. We'll be in first place real soon.
We shall see what we shall see as they work on the Miss Budweiser. We get ready for Heat 2A. We'll be back to Smithville Lake in Kansas City, Missouri in a moment. Back in Smithville Lake, Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick and Steve Montgomery. The Miss Budweiser has damage. Let's get a follow-up with Steve.
Guys, this didn't look so good just a few minutes ago. It's a brand new nose on Miss Budweiser. The tape is just for color, by the way. Underneath the tape, a brand new fiberglass nose. Should be close to 100%.
Now the Rancho Suspension Performance Corner with Mark Tate.
One of the misconceptions about these hydroplanes is that the jet engine's exhaust creates the thrust out of this exhaust stack, which is unfactual. The thrust actually comes from their propellers. This is the turbine engine that powers the propeller. This is a two-stage motor. It has a cold section and a hot section. The cold section brings the air in through to the hot section, which is the PT, the power turbine. At that point, the air and the fuel is mixed, and it creates the thrust by turning these blades inside the motor to a shaft that runs out the front. This intermediate shaft runs into the gearbox, where we have different ratios and combinations available to us to help us set up the boat. From there, we run down through the gears to the main shaft, which runs underneath the motor, out the back of the boat, to the propeller.
Now with the new format, those that were successful the first time out have to take to the outside lanes. Those that were less successful the first time out have the choice of inside lanes, and that's the way they set as they come down for the start of Heat 2A.
The T-Plus has already won a race on the outside lane. There's the green flag, and there's the start. It's going to be Miss Budweiser and the T-Plus off the bat, but it's going to be Miss Budweiser now battling Miss Wellness Plan on the inside. T-Plus has fallen back to third place. As they come out of the turn, it is going to be Miss Budweiser by a nose. Mark Evans in the Miss Wellness Plan holding very tight on the inside lane. As we said earlier, he's gotten a lot out of that boat, but right now he would like to get just a little bit more to catch Chip Hanauer in the damaged Miss Budweiser.
On the inside, right on the buoy line, is the Jasper Engines and Transmission out of Madison, Indiana, but the leader out of lane 3 is the Miss Budweiser first time around.
Three boats are really, really tight, and you can see the tape actually coming off of the Miss Budweiser as she came around the turn, went a little bit wide, and it looks like the Wellness Plan is going to take the lead at the end of lap number 1. Wellness Plan hitting it at about 138 miles per hour. What a thrill for Mark Evans, and how light that boat is riding. He does like to tiptoe it.
The tiptoeing is controlled by the attitude of the canards, Dick. A front wing, just like you're seeing here on the Miss Budweiser. Aerodynamically, canards up, the boat will fly. Canards down, front end stays down hard on the water.
And right now, both drivers have to pay attention to their canards and a lot of other things. The Zodiac Sports Watches average lap speed 141 miles per hour as the Wellness Plan takes to the air momentarily. Mark Evans gets her back down. Bernie Little rooting from the dock with the rest of the Budweiser crew, but it doesn't look like the Miss Budweiser is going to be able to catch the Miss Wellness Plan this time. Wellness Plan, Mark Evans doing just an outstanding job. And there you see the Budweiser takes a porpoise move, flying over, nose down. They got to keep control of the boat. You know, a lot of times we like to call the driver more pilot than driver because he's got to be concerned with air as well as water. There you can see that canard on the front of the Miss Budweiser moving up and down, sometimes taking a hit from the water.
This inverted format, Dick, seems to have upped the level of competition. We're seeing some really good racing.
It's excellent racing as the Miss Wellness Plan comes around the turn. Miss Budweiser in second place. Back in third place, it's going to be the T-Plus, followed by Jasper's Engines and Transmissions and the Miss KC. There's your winner, Miss Wellness Plan, Mark Evans. Great job of driving. This has got to be a great moment for this young man, beating Chip Hanauer in the Miss Budweiser. The Miss Budweiser, damaged as she is, taking second place. Looks like most of the tape held. There's your finish. The Wellness Plan, Miss Budweiser, T-Plus, Jasper Engines, and the Miss KC.
Mark, how do you like this new format now?
Oh, man, it's a good deal, I think. I was a little skeptic at first, but shoot, it worked out. It's mixed the show up great for everybody, and it definitely worked out good for the U99.
You also did a great job of driving, got a little loose one time.
Yeah, she got a little loose. I wasn't using my canards as much. I wanted to beat Budweiser this time. Sorry to, you know, I was supposed to be a little conservative, but when it comes to that, heck with it. I just went for it, and she got loose, but came back down. Good boat, man.
A lot of adrenaline flowing through Mark Evans, no question about that, and with good reason. Meanwhile, down the pits a bit, the boat driven by his brother Mitch, the last holdout in the powered by Pistons category, holds nearly all the records, and they'll be in Heat 2B next. B, have you wondered what it's like in a cockpit of one of these unlimited hydros? Believe it or not, earlier, Steve Montgomery got behind the wheel in dry dock.
Well, guys, I finally found a cockpit I can actually get in. Dave Vilwalk is about 6'3", and I learned a couple of things. First of all, there's no tape deck. Secondly, the seat of his pants is actually below the bottom of the boat. That's the reason for the bubble we see on the underside. And I was surprised to find out I am not strong enough to turn the steering wheel. Dave, why does this have to be so tight?
Yeah, the boats are traveling so fast today that any little tolerance anywhere in the steering system will cause some rudder flutter, and it'll tear the rudder off immediately. So we keep them really, really tight. It makes them hard to steer. We have to work out a lot to fight the torque of the boats as well, but that's what we have to deal with day to day.
The boats are coming around the final turn, getting ready for the start. Let's get the lineup with Jim.
And again, that new format shows the faster boats on the outside. Miss Hydroblast, Ken Muscatel in lane 1, Mitch Evans, Kendall Oil lane 2, DOC AccuView with Scott Pierce in the middle, Pico's America Dream in lane 4, and on the far outside in the yellow boat is the Smokin' Joe.
And that's where the battle is on the start. Going into the first turn, it's going to be Pico's American Dream and Smokin' Joe's. Pico's now momentarily in the lead. We'll see if on the back stretch as they hit the straightaway, if Smokin' Joe can come up on the outside. Mark Tate would like nothing better than to get 2 wins under his belt, and there you can see the yellow tail as it comes through the rooster tail on the outside. Smokin' Joe's Mark Tate is evening things up nose to nose with the Pico's American Dream, Dave Vilwalk. Vilwalk, with all of his better than 6 feet, puts the pressure on that pedal and gets a little more acceleration, manages to pull him on the straightaway. We'll see if he can keep that up.
These lanes are about 20 feet in width, and the boats are about 14 feet wide, leaves you about 6 foot. When they're side by side, sometimes they encroach that a little bit. They get as close as 1 foot side by side and over the length of a football field in 1 second.
Smokin' Joe's is very, very light, too, so he's got to be very careful to hold his lane in there as he comes up on the outside of Pico American Dream again. These two boats, as they like to say, going toe-to-toe in the land of Toto. All right, Zodiac Sports watches, average lap speed 145 for the lead boat, Smokin' Joe's, 144 for Pico's American Dream. And Jim, I think that would be the difference between the straightaways and the turns, and that's an average speed. We got to be aware of that.
Well, it seems that the Smokin' Joe has the shoot speed, but when he gets into the turn, he goes way wide, and then has to make it up in speeding down the front chute.
Meanwhile, back in third place, Mitch Evans and Scotty Pierce, both battling for the position and both battling really rough water. Conditions are a little bit better up front in the lead positions as the battle goes on between the Smokin' Joe's, the yellow and purple boat, and the red, white, and blue Pico's American Dream. Now, Dave Vilwalk appearing to have a little extra speed on the turns, but look as he comes out onto the straightaway. Here comes Smokin' Joe one more time. A great race, but these boats are literally side by side. As Jim said, they can get very, very tight. They've got to hold their lines. They've got to respect each other as drivers.
I believe they came together on the exit pit down the back chute. I believe they bumped it.
It doesn't look like damage is very heavy to either boat, if indeed they did, but I can understand where you think they might have. It is a tight race, and they have really been going for it. Pico's American Dream in the lead. Smokin' Joe's second place. Here they come down for the checkered flag, and Dave Vilwalk takes the win, and he's got a happy crew in the pit area. Dave Vilwalk, Fred Leland, the owner of the boat, being congratulated there. A very happy moment for him. Dave Vilwalk and Pico American Dream finishing first, followed by Smokin' Joe's, the Miss Hydroblast, Miss DOC AccuView, and Mitch Evans and Kendall Oil did not finish.
And the reason is they've sustained some damage on the bow of that boat from rough water. They're being towed back. Let's go down to Steve.
Dave, 2 straight wins for Fred Leland.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you know, it's too bad the Winston boat tried to run into us out there trying to get an advantage going into the last corner, and it's too bad he had to play like that, but you know, the Pico team came out on top once again playing fair, and hopefully that Smokin' Joe's team will try to learn to play fair next time.
They are calling foul. You disagree, obviously.
I disagree. I was holding my lane, and he took a run at me going into that turn, just like a patented turn. I've seen it happen a few times before, and we just weren't given. It was time to trade paint, boys. We're going racing.
All right, so we can see what happens when two boats get together on the course out there. Fortunately, both boats will continue, as will we, in just a moment. Smithville Lake outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Look at that. They're doing a little nose surgery there, a little rhinoplasty on the Mitch Evans boat. And a matter of fact, that's Mitch himself, the driver of the boat, fixing the nose. That's the damage they sustained earlier on. Unfortunately, he also drew Heat 3A and will not be able to make it.
Either will Jerry Hop and the Miss KC. They will not start. We're down to 3 boats as the green flag drops. Miss DOC ActiveView Scott Pearson lane 1. Ken Muscatel in the Hydroblast lane 2. And on the outside, Jasper Engines and Transmissions with Mike Hansen.
Looking at the qualifying speeds, you have to pick Mike Hansen as the favorite in this one. The green boat, Jasper's Engines and Transmissions, the boat owned by the city of Madison, Indiana, where we'll be racing in a couple of weeks. He now takes the lead out of turn number 2. So Jasper's is now in the lead. DOC AccuView with Scott Pierce is closing in on the inside. He'll try to take advantage of that shorter course. To those of you who have not watched it before, we like to emphasize the shorter course is the first groove. That's why they inverted the field, because it forces the faster boats to use more power to complete and compete against the boats on the inside. Jasper's now having to use a little bit extra. He can hold his power higher on the turns because he's not turning quite as sharply. He's taking full advantage of that today. A good ride for Mike Hansen.
As we look at the Miss DOC ActiveView, it's Scott Pierce. Look at this boat. Jasper's upside down in Detroit 2 weeks ago. Drove 11 and a half hours to get here to qualify, and they're running a little heavy. The crew told me that their light cowling is gone. They had to take a backup cowling. It weighs 150 pounds more, and they can't fly the boat the way they want to.
They have the same problem with the wings. The Zodiac Sports Watch's average lap speed at 135 miles per hour. Mike Hansen's going to use his head on this. He's got a good lead on the field at this point. He's not really being challenged. He's going to keep the boat in a good attitude, finish the race, keep the equipment together. He's seen some of the destruction that's happened on the course. He doesn't want to join that crowd.
I guess he's mainly interested in getting enough cumulative points in the Eagle Stacks O'Doul's High Point Chase to qualify for the final. That's where the money is.
That certainly is. And incidentally, we look back at Scott Pierce a few moments ago, and you can see he was riding a lot smoother than he was in the last heat he was involved in. Great ride, though, for the Jasper's Engines and Transmissions. That's the boat driven by Mike Hansen, who incidentally also lives in Madison, Indiana, and is full-time with the boat. He does all the repairs on it, so he really knows this boat. It fits him like a glove. But as you said earlier, Jim, he's driving a boat that has some heavier components on it than they're used to. They're still remolding the new lighter form for the cowling on that boat, and hopefully they'll get it back on the circuit soon. The Miss DOC AccuView getting a good ride. Scott Pierce, I know he's enjoying this one. He was getting bounced around an awful lot. Ken Muscatel back in 3rd place in the Miss Hydroblast. He's going to hold on to that position for the finish. And Mike Hansen is powering Jasper's home and will take the checkered flag. A great moment for this young man, as Jim referred to it earlier. He went upside down in Detroit just a couple of weeks ago. So Jasper's Engines and Transmissions, Mike Hansen takes 1st place, Miss DOC AccuView 2nd, Miss Hydroblast 3rd, Kendall Oil and Miss Kansas City did not start.
And Dick, that means 5 different winners in the first 5 heats here today. Country music star Aaron Tippin entertained this past weekend. We had a lot of fun here in Kansas City.
Proof it wasn't only hot racing. Let's go down to the winner and Mike Hansen and Steve Montgomery.
Michael, you've come a long ways from being upside down. You're all the way back, huh?
Yeah, well, we finally got the jinx over. I think winning our first heat is Jasper Engines Transmission. Hopefully they'll do the trick. It was a tough deal. We wanted to win that first heat in Detroit, but getting upside down kind of postponed that a while.
Didn't threaten to fly this time.
No, we got to actually pin down a little bit. I mean, we're going to sneak back up on it. You know, we were a year behind on that fuel restrictor since we only ran 1 race last year, and we made up for it by loosening the boat up a little bit in Detroit, and it bit us in the tail end. So now we're just going to sneak up on it.
Well, despite the fact that the Miss Budweiser has been plagued by problems on the water so far this weekend, the crew has certainly pulled together. The team is led by an owner whose goal for top performance has yielded a lot of success.
I think it's who you surround yourself with, and if you surround yourself with the right people, then you don't have to be so tough. And I mean, they know what I expect, and I expect the best, and I only will accept the best because I'll give the best, and I want the best.
Bernie Little, the winningest owner in the history of the sport. He shares those wins with many renowned drivers.
My drivers throughout the years, I've handpicked them and been really, really very lucky doing that. Someone that drives in our racing team isn't just a boat driver. He's got to be one outstanding person. His morals have got to be very good. He's got to be able to meet the public and make speeches and travel all over the country. And that takes some kind of a special person. And so we've been very fortunate in our drivers. And when it comes to getting Chip Hanauer, there's just no one in his league.
Beyond decades of outstanding drivers, high expectations, and personal goals, Bernie has had a sponsorship commitment with Anheuser-Busch that's endured over 3 decades, built on a personal relationship with August Busch III.
33 years later, here we are racing the Miss Budweiser from a year-to-year contract, and he is just as happy as I am. I think we have the longest lasting contract in sports programming from anywhere to any time.
Bernie began his climb to personal success at a young age with little more than ambition and a new bride.
When I was 17, I married my wife, Jane, and that's been 52 years ago. So we enjoy a great marriage with our fine 3 children and our grandchildren. We were fortunate enough 2 years ago to be chosen for the Horatio Alger Award because we started with absolutely nothing and has worked our way up to where we are today.
And where we are today is a sport safe with enclosed cockpits due to concern from someone who has had nearly 100 wins in over 33 years.
You start at something and you start with nothing and you keep working and working and getting ahead. And in our racing career, gosh, when you wait 5-6 years to get a victory, and then they start and they get better and better and more. So the Miss Budweiser is truly a legend. That really makes me feel pretty good.
We'll see how that legend fares in Heat 3B when Speed World continues on ESPN. Kansas City, Missouri, Texaco's Star Mart, HydroFair. Dick Crippen along with Steve Montgomery and Jim Hendrick as we look at the boats come down for the start in Heat 3B. This time the Smokin' Joe's is in lane number 1. Pico American Dream, lane number 2. The Wellness Plan, T+. The Miss Budweiser on the far outside. Miss Budweiser coming down on the outside. It's the Smokin' Joe leading at the moment, but there's the Miss Budweiser, and Chip Hanauer is going to take it by a nose coming out onto the straightaway.
Now the format goes back to who has the highest points in the 3rd heat. They get lane choice. Budweiser's on the far outside, and look at the way Chip Hanauer is driving in this water that, by the way, is better than when they qualified. It's smoothed out.
Jim, we've got 4 boats that are actually vying up there. T+ has now moved up onto the inside of the Miss Budweiser, and they're all 3 side by side as they come down the back stretch. They are really driving hard. The Miss Budweiser manages to take a lead. Chip Hanauer has damage to that boat. He's got to be aware of it, but he's not going to let it play into his game plan. It now stands with the Miss Budweiser first, Smokin' Joe's second, and the T+ right off of his hip in 3rd place. So all 3 boats are in contention. Here comes T+ up the middle again.
And the challenge continues as 10 boats vie for 6 starting positions in the winner-take-all final to come.
All right, we have 1, 2, 3. We've got the Miss Budweiser, this boat, the T+ in 2nd place, and Smokin' Joe's on the inside. They're coming into the turn now. That's the way they'll hold through the turn. Smokin' Joe's, a great job of driving by Mark Tate as he powers on the Miss Bud. Whoa! Smokin' Joe's has spun down in the turn. As he came out, Mark Tate got a little bit airborne. The boat lost its traction and spun around. He is dead in the water as he sits right now. Still out in the lead is the Miss Budweiser and the T+. Wellness Plan goes by on the inside of Smokin' Joe's. Average lap speed at 146 for the Miss Budweiser.
It's almost like a demolition derby today. We have an injury to the Budweiser, to the Kendall Oil. Pico's in lap 1 of this heat has just sustained some tail damage, and now out of the race momentarily is Smokin' Joe's.
Checkered flag out. Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanauer takes the win.
Now let's take another look at the spin by the Smokin' Joe's, the yellow boat on the right side of your screen. It seems he gets a little light on the tail end, and the tail whips to the left. That's a very unusual attitude. Let's look at it one more time, closer view. The right sponson digs in, and the tail whips around from right to left. Very unusual.
Pico American Dream with some tail damage finishes the race, and Smokin' Joe's restarted also comes across the line. So Miss Budweiser first, T Plus second, then the wellness plan, Pico American Dream, Smokin' Joe's taking last place. Let's go down to the pit area.
Bernie, we got 6 winners in 6 heats, and finally you're one of them.
Well, yeah, it took all day, though, didn't it? I mean, gee, we did, what we have, a couple seconds? And I'll tell you one thing, Chip sure showed him where the power was. We give him a boat that would stay in the water, you know, in the other heats. What happened was he was just getting a terrible ride, and we finally had to do about 4 or 5 different changes and change the CGs on the boat, and it rode a lot better so he could use the power that he had, and you saw the power that he had out there today.
Is he okay? He looked a little shaken up.
Well, he is. He's suffering from some injuries from his back from last year, and he aggravated them here on Friday or Thursday when it was so rough, and went out there, and his back is hurting pretty bad.
The crews for the Pico American Dream and the Smokin' Joe's very busy as they pick up the pieces and try to get them back together again. We'll get it together right after this. Beautiful Smithville Lake, and it looks beautiful from up here, but I'll tell you what, it's got a little rough on the boats. Let's check in on the Smokin' Joe pit.
Tell me what happened out there.
Well, basically, I hit a hole, and down there in corners 3 and 4, the boat started to go to the left, and I tried to correct it. I was inside the course at that point, right after the apex. I tried to correct, and then when I corrected and started bringing it back, I hit another hole, and the boat flat spun real hard to the right.
Well, that boat suffered some damage, as did Pico's American Dream, and the driver, Dave Vilwalk, who's going to get that knee taped up. He hit it apparently when he went through the rooster tail, hit it against the side of the boat. We're into the provisional heat. Now, out of this heat, one boat will move forward to be the trailer boat in the championship round later this afternoon. In second place, it's Mitch Evans in the Kendall Oil boat. Here's your leader, and boy, he's taking full advantage of the speed that he's got in that boat. Ken Muscatel bouncing his way around the corner in the Miss Hydro Blast. Mitch Evans, the heavier boat with that big aircraft engine, the big Allison aircraft engine, doing a great job of driving. He's had a good afternoon of racing. Back in third place, it's Scotty Pierce aboard the DOC AccuView. He's doing a good job, getting a little rough water, though, back in third place. You've got to try to get up into the lead in this pack. Rounding out the field is Jerry Hopp in the Miss KC. Still, your leader is Ken Muscatel in the Miss Hydro Blast. It looks like Ken will become the 7th winner in 7 races here on Smithville Lake.
And in all the years of broadcasting unlimited hydroplane racing, I've never, ever seen 7 different winners in 7 different heats. And that means that the first man to repeat will win the championship here today. And that's in the finale. Not all the action was on the unlimited circuit. Today, the competition Cam's Unlimited Light Series continued. The Pride of Detroit with Mike Weber won it all, with Miss Leroy with Randy Haas second. Steve Kerr in the Irishman was third.
You can keep up on the entire unlimited season by joining the Winner's Circle. Call the number on your screen to get a URC patch, a newsletter, media guide, and for a limited time, get this unlimited t-shirt, plus the Diamond P Video Thunderboats. Call today and become an insider in the fastest sport on water.
Doctor, 7 heats, 7 winners, and now you're one of them. You gotta love it.
I love it. We ran hard. It's rough out there, boy. Felt like a ping pong ball in a jacuzzi. So.
The old white boat, though, had a pretty good day, really.
This boat actually is running really, really well. It's we got rid of the spin and the hook and the dip, so we're on our way.
One more race now, and they'll give you the big trophy.
Oh, they give me a new body.
Here's the final field set to go. The T Plus Wellness Plan, Miss Budweiser, Smokin' Joe's, Jasper's Engines, Pico American Dream, and Miss Hydro Blast.
We'll be back as these drivers decide the championship on Smithville Lake when Speed World continues in just a moment. Smithville Lake in Kansas City, Missouri. The Texaco Star Mart HydroFair, and we are talking championships. An interesting lane selection, Jim.
Well, Chip Haddow had lane choice, and he put the Budweiser in lane 3, leaving Steve David his next pick, and he put the T Plus in lane 1. Now, lane 1 is very, very rough, to be sure, as Steve David will be in lane 1. In lane 2, it will be Mark Evans and Fred Leland's The Wellness Plan. And as we said, the Miss Budweiser with Chip Hanauer, sore ribs and all, will take the Miss Budweiser in lane 3. Lane 4, Smoke and Joe's with Mark Tate, Steve Woomer's boat, on the hip of the Budweiser. On the outside is Dave Bilwach in Fred Leland's second boat, Pico's American Dream. Mike Hansen takes the Jasper engines and transmissions to the far outside, and the trailer back about 15 seconds, Miss Hydroblast with Ken Muscatel.
The boats are taking their final warm-ups out on the course right now. Steve Montgomery is down in the pits with the owner of the T-Plus boat. Steve David drives that. Jim Harvey owns it. Let's talk format.
Jim, we weren't sure how inverting the second heat would work out. It looked like it might cost you, but you ended up in the inside in the final heat.
Yes, Steve, I think that the change in the format is the best thing that we've done in the sport. This way, you know, we're all pretty equal going into the final heat.
And you got the inside.
That's the best place to be, I think. Let's hope Steve feels that way, too.
All right, the start of this race. Everything is on the line. It's a winner-take-all. The boats look like they're in good position. Up on the starting line for a flying start. And there's the green flag. They are off and running. Remember, the Miss Budweiser is lane number 3. Lane number 1 went to the T-Plus. We were just talking as we look out the window to clear water. You can see a couple of the boats out in front. Steve David still has a bit of an advantage, though, as they come up on the turn. Let's see if he can capture that first place on the inside.
A whole wall of water, as you can see now, the challenge. And look at your 3 boats. Budweiser from inside the cockpit of Chip Hanauer, as we said, took lane number 3. He's working those canards to keep that boat down in the water, and he's right in between the T-Plus on his left and the yellow boat, the Smoke and Joe's, on his right.
He's got to be very careful to hold that lane because that boat also has damage. He doesn't want to pick up any of the residual of either one of the rooster tails on either side of the boat. Good shot inside the Smoke and Joe's. This is the boat riding on the outside of first place, battling for the lead right now. He's still within contention. Miss Budweiser fighting a little bit of that spray that comes off, and that would be my biggest concern. But you can see the T-Plus and the Smoke and Joe's are definitely setting the pace.
I still wonder why the Miss Budweiser was taking the lane 3, and I got a hunch, and I'm not sure. Chip Hanauer is hurting more than we suspect. He knows it's rough in lane number 1. He knows he came from the outside in lane 3B to win from lane 5. Why not stick in the middle of lane 3 and try to save his ribs and also keep the Smoke and Joe on the outside of him? But look at the guy that's showing him the short way around the course. It isn't Smoke and Joe's as much as it is T-Plus.
Steve David grabbed the lead right out of the first turn, and he has been battling in the advantage position ever since. The Zodiac Sports Watches average lap speed at 143. That's a very good speed for this boat. He's taken full advantage of it. The Smoke and Joe's dropping back just a little bit, riding in second place. Miss Budweiser now in third. There you can see how the boats are divided out, and Steve David has played a very good strategy here. He's got himself a sizable lead. Oh, boy, he better be careful. He almost lost it that time around. We already saw Smoke and Joe's did one of those sponsons. It looked for a moment like T-Plus might do the same thing.
There are 7 boats on the water. That churns up this rough course even more. T-Plus on the ragged edge. That's the way that Steve David says he likes to run. Has not had a victory since the bookend wins in '93, where he won the opener in Dallas and the closer at Honolulu.
They have certainly been working on this boat, trying to get it faster and faster, and it looks like today it'll pay off. There you can see the average speed at 126. They've pulled it down a little bit because of the rough water. Now even the lead boat is being affected, but boy, when you're back in that pack, as Mike Hansen is a little bit behind the lead boats, you're getting nothing but backwash, and you got to hold on.
Dick, right about now, I'll bet you that Mike Hansen's glad he has that extra 150 pounds in that engine cowling in back of him. That holds that Jasper engine and transmissions down on the water. As we look at our leader, what was Ken Muscatel saying earlier? He felt that his boat was like a ping-pong ball in a blender.
I think that describes it. We're coming into the last lap, and Smoke and Joe's in second place. Whoa, a little bit of rough water. We've been saying all day how the leaders have the advantage of a little bit smoother water, but when you're going 5 laps, I have to tell you, it's going to roughen up on everybody. There you can see a little bit of a rough up on the Smoke and Joe's. Mark Tate holding it in there, though. There's the Miss Budweiser. Woo, gets a little bit on the light side, as does the T-Plus. Steve David likes to drive it light. There was the owner, Jim Harvey, and he's got to be a little bit nervous right now. That stomach's got to be about as tight as you can get it. Miss Budweiser now has to be concerned with a wellness plan on the inside. Look at Mark Evans as he takes that boat for a flying leap. And he jumps out of the water, gets to settle back down, and that's where the battle is. It looks like the wellness plan to the left has passed the Miss Budweiser on the inside. Chip Hanauer, we know that he is hurting a little from his ribs. We don't know how much. As Jim said, he may have taken third lane simply to get out of rough water. Here comes your checkered flag for the T+. Look at this team. Yes, they are happy. Jim Harvey and crew has good reason to celebrate a big win in Kansas City.
Inside the cockpit of Miss Budweiser, who's taken back over third place as the wellness plan with Mark Evans driving has gone dead in the water. So it'll be in the final order finish. The Miss T+ engine treatment, Steve David first, Smoke and Joe second. The Miss Budweiser, Pico America Dream, Jasper Engines, Miss Hydroblast, and the wellness plan.
Good racing all the way around as the winner comes home and he is celebrating. Steve David, a great job. I mean to tell you, you want to see happiness, this is it. There is the agony of defeat and the pain in the back. The Bud Camp. Chip Hanauer is hurting. Second place goes to Mark Tate, as we told you, and there's a little congratulations to the winner, Stephen David, from Mark Tate. It was a good, hard-fought race.
And through the first three races, the Eagle Stacks No Duels High Point Championship run looks like this. Budweiser has a 659-point lead over Smoke and Joe's.
Yeah.
Steve, it had been a while. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. The T+ engine treatment team has been so supportive, and last year was such a challenge for us, but the guys kept working, and Jim Harvey kept just saying, we're going to do it. Have faith. We're going to do it. And the sponsors staying there with us, and this team of human beings I'm with, what power. I didn't win that race. I had, 8 phenomenal crew members in there with me.
Jim, it looked like Honolulu in '93.
Oh, it's fantastic. In Detroit, we tore the whole bottom and the back out of the boat, destroyed a gearbox, 10 days solid, no rest, no time off. These guys put this thing back together, and I just had a great feeling. I mean, it is a great feeling.
We're going to go get the check now.
Steve David and Jim Harvey, the driver and owner respectively of the Miss T+, very happy after a very big win. Well, we can look forward to more of the same exciting racing action as the series moves to the Midwest and Evansville, Indiana. It has been a great day of racing here on Smithville Lake. For Jim Hendrick and Steve Montgomery, I'm Dick Crippen. See you next time. The 1995 Hooters Unlimited Hydroplane Series is sanctioned by the American Powerboat Association and is a production of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN.